Welcome. It is so great to be here with you today. I am here with Evolutionary astrologer Natasha Alter, and we are going to be discussing. So, last time we were together, we talked about Neptune in Pisces and the messages that Neptune in Pisces has for this particular moment in time. Today, we're going to be talking about Uranus and Taurus. And what we're doing is we're focusing on those outer planets, because those transits are longer, and a lot of times they are impacting the collective. They're impacting all of us. So it's really important right now for us to tune into these outer planet transits so that we can understand what's being asked of us as humanity. And yes, of course, there's individual stories for each of us within that context. But that's where we're going to start today. So, Natasha, welcome. As always, it is such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, for having me. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's okay wherever you are, in whatever lockdown or not situations you are. We're going through it together.
Can I tell them, Natasha, about your situation on Monday? Yeah.
Sure.
So we planned to do this broadcast on Monday earlier this week, and I got a message from Natasha early my time saying, "Can we reschedule?" Can you tell them what happened for you?
On Monday, when we were supposed to do our interview at 6 a.m., the government here in Greece, I'm currently on an island on Crete in Greece, announced a full and total lockdown with leaving the house permitted only with a special paper and a special document signed and filled. So there are special regulations. I'm sure they're very close to the ones in Italy that Italy has. So a full-on stay at home or else, starting from a fee, from a certain amount of money to, if it's a more serious transgression, then probably much more serious consequences. So that happened on Monday, and it took me, it just threw me out of balance, and I just felt like I was not ready to be of support and be of help while I myself was trying to figure out what's going on, integrate it, and return to, plan B. Or plan C, yes. So that's probably what is happening with a lot of people who are in Europe currently. I don't know the situation in the United States. I know that,
Well, we have, I got the mandatory, the stay-at-home mandate here in Hawaii. Currently, you don't have to fill out a government form or anything just to leave your home. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, strongly advised but the government form fill out thing just to go outside, that's like a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's a whole different level. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, I'm so glad that you have been able to recoup and get back to your center.
Yes.
But the thing with that, Natasha, is just the message that we're all going through this and riding these waves together. And there's going to be times where you feel stronger than others, and that's okay. It's part of the process.
Exactly.
And that's why we have each other, all of us in this community, to pick each other up when we're down. And there's going to be those times. So
yes, beautifully put. Thank you. Yes.
So
and that's what Neptune in Pisces is showing us, how absolutely together we are navigating this field. All of a sudden, we are literally in the same boat, and we are sharing all the, we always do. But with Neptune and Pisces, we learn that we are in this unified field with energy being able to penetrate and spread and connect everything and everybody in a much higher extent. And so, yes, definitely we are feeling that collective repercussion of being united or being in one boat. That's the other side of Neptune, right?
The
interconnectedness to the max. Yeah.
Yes, and the term "you are only as strong as your weakest link"
Exactly.
is it's very salient. You know, it's very present, and each one of us are experiencing it in our own way. So, Natasha, let's talk about Uranus and Taurus.
Okay.
Tell us, just give us the context for this transit. When did it start? How long does it last? And then let's talk about the message and the invitation of this particular transit during this particular time.
Okay, let's try to figure it out together, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I would also welcome all of our listeners to come up with ideas and visions and suggestions, because again, we're all in it all together, and it is a co-creative process, right? We are discovering as we go, literally every day, the full meanings of the planetary positions currently. So Uranus in Taurus is a very different energy from Neptune in Pisces, which is very subtle, yet ever so persistent. But however it's subtle, Uranus in itself is a powerful into your face energy. It always comes strongly, and it is never unnoticed. And it brings havoc, it unearths things, it changes them dramatically. So it's a powerful energy. And being in Taurus, now, what is Taurus? It's an earth sign. So literally, Uranus in Taurus is very, very tangible to us. And very visible, you know. It's a very strongly felt energy, because Taurus is not just our body, it's our planet. It's our resources, you know, it's everything that we value, and so on. So, and everything which we also consider to be stable, you know. Uranus is coming and showing us that this stability is it might be not as lasting or infinite as we used to think. Uranus moved into Taurus in May 2018, May 15th, actually. I will always remember that ingress of Uranus into Taurus, because I kind of took it with my own body, literally, personally. And I'll give it to you as an example, because it demonstrates very literally the workings of Uranus and Taurus. So a few days before the ingress of Uranus into Taurus, I was standing next to my house, talking to my housemate, and all of a sudden, the ground underneath our feet started shaking. But not like a regular earthquake. The power and intensity and the scale of this earthquake was so large that we literally started holding each other hands not to fall on the ground. So it was a 6.9, and some people say 7.2 earthquake on the big island of Hawaii. And because I was standing on the ground, you know, on the very soil that was shaking, I took it with my body. You know, all of these waves, you know, they went through my body, and it felt basically like everything, all the reality in front of you that you always consider to be stable or static or vertical or, you know, immovable, all of a sudden started to dance around everything. So the whole screen of so-called realities became very surreal, you know. So that earthquake initiated a huge volcanic eruption on the big island of Hawaii that was broadcasted all over the world, and it covered a couple of villages. A lot of people became homeless, and it reformed actually the shape of the island, throwing a lot of lava onto the ground, into the ocean. So that was my experience of the first glimpse into Uranus and Taurus. And so why did I mention that it's a literal kind of metaphor and example of Uranus and Taurus? Because when Uranus comes into that stable, steady, mellow, well-settled energy of Taurus, everything that we believe to be lasting, to be in our control, to be permanent, to be, you know, solid, all of a sudden is being shaken upside down. Okay. And in this case, it was the earth itself under my feet, but it is a metaphor to that experience where things that we know are stable, which we think are stable, things that we rely upon, we lean upon to feel safe, to feel grounded, all of a sudden are no more. And so I am not here to scare people, of course, with that experience, and it doesn't mean that we all are going to be experiencing earthquakes. There are a lot of earthquakes going on actually right now, but I am giving this example for all of us to get ready or get psychically prepared that a lot of what we consider to be it's not going to go anywhere might as well do that. And I feel like the more we prepare ourselves for letting go of holding on to the reality the way it used to be, the easier it's going to be for us to meet whatever the next chapters are coming, because they are coming. You know, it's really, to me, not as much about the virus, what's going on right now, as it is about the global reset, as they call it, the complete overhaul of current power system and power structures on the planet, and possible change of the power distribution among the countries and governments, or whoever you know is pulling the threads behind the scene. You know, so the epidemic or pandemic it's more of a trigger or accelerator, you know, for that big, huge overhaul and shift to happen. So it's good for us to be aware, again, coming back to Uranus in Taurus, that things, when all of this settles, if it will, you know, when the virus is gone and we wake up from this spell, the reality might no longer be the way it was. It will for sure not be the way it was before it started. And I am Taurus. I have Taurus sun, right? I know, and you know the Taurus energy pretty well, right? What do you know about Taurus? What do you know about Taurus?
I know that you Tauruses are delicious and just the best. And I know that you like your home and your environment to be steady and predictable and comfortable and nurturing. And there's this, you derive a lot of strength from having that stable sort of reality. And so sudden changes and getting thrown off kind of throw you off center, not forever.
Yes.
But
yes.
So Natasha, may I share something? As you're speaking, I'm going to be right back. Hold on.
Okay. She's going to be right back. Things are moving very fast.
So as you're speaking, I'm seeing this.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So this is Pele, the goddess of the volcano.
Yes.
This is her with the eruption behind her. This is her with caressing the Ohia lehua, well, the lehua flower, but it's actually the Ohia lehua tree. And it is here in this picture because it is the first
Yes.
form of life that comes out of the lava after a volcanic eruption.
Yes.
And what it does is reminds us that life is resilient and strong. And even in the places where you would think no life could come through,
Mm-hmm.
it does.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I was thinking as you were telling your story about the volcanic eruption on the Big Island, which I experienced with you here on Maui in a different way. It wasn't erupting here, but of course, I was very connected to you and to the place and all the things that were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that happened during that eruption was that the warm pond where I birthed Sophia, my second daughter, or I was in labor there, I was in ceremony there as I was birthing her, got covered with lava. And I remember feeling such grief about this because this was this sacred pond that's been there for who knows how many thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And in one day,
Mm-hmm.
this pond is gone forever. It can't come back. It takes, I mean, maybe it will sometime, but it will never be the same. It will never be the same. And I remember grieving for that because I could never show Sophia where she was, I couldn't, it was gone. Some of the most sacred places on that island were covered with the lava. And again, places that you just take for granted that will always be there.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remember getting the phone call from you and you saying, Amanda, there are now brand new, pristine black sand beaches that have come. There are new formations of land that are incredible. You have to come see this.
Yes.
And it was like, wow. So that happened. The place as we knew it is no longer the same.
No longer the same, yes.
And yet there's something new that we can cherish just the same. Mm-hmm. And so when I tune into the messages of a goddess like Pele, and I remember at the same time, the different kinds of reactions that were happening from the people there in Pahoa, in Puna, where this was happening. There were the people that thought it was the end of the world and were really panicked and freaking out and didn't, just were really scared, understandably so. Their homes, their gardens, the things that they had invested in were at risk and their lives, right? But then you had, and I remember seeing interviews, and this was from a different lava eruption, but I remember seeing some native Hawaiians, and their response was, this is nature. This is what happens. None of it is important enough to freak out. Like, if this is my time, if this is my house's time, it just is. And I remember watching this. It was, what's the beautiful man that created this documentary? And this was from a different lava eruption. Your neighbor.
Oh, Robert Kent, yes.
Robert Kent created a documentary. And I loved watching this because this, for me, is like, we have choices in how we respond. We have choices in what we cling to and what we hold on to. And from what you're saying to me, this seems like a big, huge message of Uranus and Taurus.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Well, so, Taurus loves to hold on. Why? Because it creates this cushion for itself. It likes to the durability. It likes the reliability of things or what it considers to be value. So it kind of holds on and builds up and just works around creating that safety net, that cushion to fall back to. So Taurus is very uncomfortable, when Uranus comes and hit it, because they are naturally squaring each other, Aquarius and Taurus. These energies are not the most compatible ones. However, when Uranus hits, Taurus gets to adjust and it gets to let go, however uncomfortable. So we can say, like, globally, the Uranus in Taurus energy is very uncomfortable. It is yanking, this cushion from underneath our comfortable butts, and that pond that you described, where everybody was so attached to that comfort and the beauty and the luxury of being in those warm waters, all of a sudden is gone. So the same in our lives, we got to redefine luxury. We might have to let go of a lot of attachments that to those things which we considered absolutely necessary. We might need to redefine what is truly necessary. So, there are a lot of ramifications here, both internally and externally. Externally, of course, we're looking into the financial reset. We're looking at possibly a major change in financial reality, globally and personally. And a lot of people, I feel like the real pain and danger is going to come more from the financial consequences that this havoc is creating on individuals, on people who are connected and dependent and going to be in difficult situations like in 2008, and it might even be bigger than that. So that is the actual realistic, sober consequences or reality of Uranus in Taurus. Also on personal level, we will have to, as I said, redefine our comfort zone. We will have to redefine what do we need, what are our true needs. Do we really need all that stuff? After again, coming back to my experience with volcano, after this earthquake, I basically returned to the place after the eruption. I sold everything I had and I gave away everything I had. I basically got rid of 20 years of accumulated stuff. And this might be what Uranus is in Taurus could suggest us as a healthy response to that energy. The more we are ready to let go of what we have considered to be necessary or indispensable, the lighter or the easier it might be for us not to navigate this period. Yes. And of course, Taurus is about our values, right? Notoriously, let me close this. There's so much Facebook activity. It's notoriously about the values. What are the values? What we consider to be important. Those are the values, right? What we consider to be something that defines our worth. And in contemporary society, in contemporary consumeristic society, money, of course, has become the primary value that the society is operating by. And what is his or her worth? Even the word worth has, started to be measured in money. So Uranus, which is also the energy of enlightenment and awakening and higher mind and upgrade, might be calling us for that upgrade in our value system. Fundamentally.
Mm.
Which is a beautiful thing, which are the beautiful processes that it might initiate individually with many of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when this transit first began, I remember having the strong understanding that where we source our safety,
Mm-hmm.
where we source our value, that is shifting.
Exactly.
What we look to for comfort and safety is shifting. But like you said, the truth is it's shifting into something that is actually reliable, not the facade of what we think is reliable. So when we source ourselves in the eternal, when we source ourselves in the soul, when we find safety and security in that place, we are aligned with the universal law and universal truths. When we source our safety from our bank account or our luxury car or our home, we are sourced in the temporary. And so I don't know about all of you, but the only way that I've actually been kicked out of those dependencies has been through periods of massive transformation, what felt like massive crisis, what felt like a death. And this woman, Natasha, guided me through that period. I call it my personal fall of Rome or my personal apocalypse, because that is what it felt like. It felt like I built this reality and what I valued, and it all had to come crumbling down in order for me to realize who I actually was and what was actually valuable. And of course, it's a continual process, but there was a big, momentous, dramatic occasion that enabled me to see that a lot more clearly through a lot of pain at the time. So in the end, it is an upgrade. And one of the things I was thinking about today is that idea of you need to be able to see it before it can actually become into reality. So one of the things that we can do with this time of quiet and relative like inwardness, as we're in our homes, as we're quarantined, is vision or dream in what a better reality could look like, what a different value system might mean. I think most people would agree that the way it has been isn't really serving. So while we cling to like, oh no, it's going to go away, at the same time, it's like, do you like it? Like, have you enjoyed the way that it's been set up?
Better the devil we know, says Taurus.
What's that?
Better the devil we know, says Taurus, right?
Better the devil we know, right? But really, is that true? And I think in order for the devil that we don't know to be, and hopefully not a devil, although is a devil like the Capricorn? No? Is it well, in tarot it is, isn't it? Or is it the...
let's not go. This is a rabbit hole.
Sorry. Okay. But in terms of dreaming in another, like we won't be able to create another reality that works better unless we can start to see it.
Yes.
So as we're in these times, what does that look like to you? I think each person can begin to dream that in, both for themselves personally, but also for the collective, for humanity. What could it look like? How could it be better? How could it be more serving? How could it be more aligned with universal truth and universal laws? And if we can begin to dream it and see it, I mean, everything we see here right now was first an idea. And then someone somehow brought it into reality. And so that is the opportunity, again, for us in this time to tap into that upgrade. What does the upgrade even look like? What can we even begin to dream in? And I remember in the process of my complete personal apocalypse as I was, and actually I've come to learn from Gemini Brett, and I need to ask him where he found this out, but the word apocalypse means unveiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, so unveiling.
Yes.
Like that has a whole different context than what I think most people associate with that.
Revelation.
What's that? Revelation.
Revelation also, yeah, has a root in veil. Revelation, yeah. Reveal,
right.
To lift up the veil.
To lift up the veil. But so as we're dreaming this in, what's revealed on the other side of the veil?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Taurus. What else is Taurus? Let's just figure it out together. It's resources, right? So we can say inner resources on individual level. We can start looking into our inner resources and pull out perhaps qualities or talents and gifts which have been lying there unused, and find a way or envision the way to use them. On the global scale, we can be talking in a positive way about upgrade in the use of Earth resources, for instance. Not the abuse and not the uneven distribution, but we could maybe hope for a more enlightened way of using Earth resources, for instance, for the common good, including the good of the planet. We can talk about, for instance, as a Taurus, surprisingly enough, I was always dreaming as a child about society without money. Taurus that is linked with money for some reason, I kind of early on felt that it was a system that was holding back humanity in many ways from expressing itself. And we can, for instance, because Uranus in Taurus is about financial shift, possible recession, and possible depression, we can ask, what is money? Can we live without money? And how would the world look without money? What are the alternatives? What comes to mind with Uranus, which is a, let's say, fair, enlightened society, in this case, I'll use that expression of Uranus. What if we engage in a barter exchange, even on the local level? What if we use local resources to trade with one another? Taurus is very, very independent. It loves self-reliance. It loves to have everything there figured out, so if anything, it will be self-sufficient, okay? So if we add Uranus and Aquarian energy in the mix of Taurian energy, we can see the resources used within community for a more evolved way of being together and sharing. That can be a vision.
It's so funny that you mentioned that you had those ideas and visions when you were a child, because I'll never forget a conversation I had with Madeline, my now 11-year-old. I think she was probably around 6 or 7. And she goes, "Mama, we don't need money. We don't need it." And I was like, okay. She's like, "Yeah, no, there's definitely a better way." I was like, "All right, enlighten me, show me, how could we do it better?" She goes, "We can make stuff, we can trade stuff. We don't need to have the money thing." She goes, "It's just kind of dumb." And I was like,
Beautiful.
how, the innocence of that observation and the clarity with which she was just like, it doesn't make sense, And it was awesome for me to witness. And I said, "Well, Madeline, I believe that you and your generation potentially are holding the vision for a different way. I was born in this time where this is the way and this is what we do. And yet it doesn't, I understand it doesn't have to, there could be another way that is better. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I was joking, so the woman that does my hair color, does my roots, mm-hmm. we were joking because we were anticipating that she wouldn't be able to do what she's doing. And so I was talking about having these like speakeasy underground like hair salons. And we were laughing and she goes, well, I'll do your color for like a few lemons or for some food, because I collect hair color, but I don't garden. I was like, so perfect. So it's hard for us to imagine, and yet is it something that we can imagine? And would it actually serve better? And these are questions. Again, I love how you invited us in the beginning, Natasha, to come together with ideas and co-create it, because we don't know the ultimate answer to any of this. But the other thing that I saw, as the quarantine things were happening, as people were storming the stores and selling out the toilet paper, was how come we're not storming the garden section?
Yes.
How come we're not investing in things that would reduce our reliance on these structures that we are witnessing the weakness in them. We are witnessing our vulnerability to them, is what I was thinking. Is like, because I went to the garden and I was like, all right, it's going to take 45 days to have some food. I may as well plant right now and see what happens. But I do think that's part of the invitation. And then when I was there in the garden center, I was imagining, what if everyone did this? Like, what if we all planted gardens? What if we all invested in great soil and beautiful seeds, and we all started to create our gardens? And it reminds me, I don't know if any of you have read the Anastasia books, based on the Dachniks in Russia, and the vision of each person having their own plot of land and cultivating the soil that they live on. Yes. And it's a whole series. It's really fascinating and potentially a really good thing to be reading right now, because it does. And who knows, is it sustainable? Is it doable? Is it a utopia that won't ever happen here on this planet? I don't know. But each person has answers, and each person holds a piece of the vision. Mm-hmm. And
the toilet paper example, of course, it indicates and shows us where the value system is lying with majority. However, it is only by embodying, it's only by being an example to oneself, to one's beloved and friends and family, that one can initiate any kind of movement.
Yes.
I just have a feeling that the more independent, not just because Uranus in Taurus, but all of the planets in Capricorn shaking things up, very spooky things going on in the power fights globally. To me, all of this is about the more independent we are from those structures of the government that control the direction of our lives. The more we take charge, about our existence, our lives, our visions, and the bigger leap we can make, and the better we can prepare for whatever is coming. Independence is definitely up in the air. Self-sufficiency, independence, energy independence, by the way, with Uranus, which rules energy. It's all the technological advances. It's an electric energy. All of that together with Taurus is suggesting energy, Taurus, self-reliance, energy independence. So that is not that far-fetched of a dream, and many of us can actually create that. But it's only by making those steps, actually enacting that out, that we can start moving somewhere and investing in different kind of industry, for instance. Yeah. So lots of food of thought.
Lots of food for thought. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. I'm not seeing, let's see if I can see some of your thoughts and comments. Okay, Amy says, gardening, animal husbandry, astrology, and mindfulness practices should all be taught in our school systems from the preschool level throughout in order to develop compassion for the earth and compassion for ourselves and our communities. Leah, you have to tell me, Uranus change how we see and live and connect to Taurus, Earth itself. Lita says, here people stormed liquor stores when they thought they might not be considered essential. So interesting to have this, talk about a revealing moment. It's a revealing moment to see what we went to, what we cling to in this time where things feel uncertain. And that's not to shame anyone or anything. It's just revealing and illuminating and showing. And in order for us to have that awareness so we can start to question what we value, why we value it. Is it something, I saw there were interviews of people that were going for the toilet paper, and the reporter was asking, why are you going and buying, heaps and heaps of toilet paper? And the people were saying, I don't know. Because
they're gonna shit on themselves.
Natasha,
sorry.
But it was just I don't know. It was I don't know. And it's like, wow, how programmed are we? Like, how knee-jerk are we?
Yes.
And I think it's not to shame people who did that, and if you did that, anybody out there, it's just to become aware, and to begin to question, why did I cling to that? Why did I feel like that was the most important thing that I would need in a time of great uncertainty? Yes. And like you said, this invitation from Uranus and Taurus to begin to shift that value system. Yes. I remember when I used to value, I thought having a huge home would be amazing. Owning a home, having a huge home would be the most amazing thing ever. And it was part of the goal, part of the pinnacle of success in my mind. And then realizing, like, wow, it's actually a lot of work. It feels really heavy. I don't need that much space. There's just tons of stuff to clean, so it's these things that we think we want, but then they a lot of times create the prison that we end up living in. So
and your possessions end up possessing you.
Totally. Same thing for me. When I left New York, I sold or gave away everything. We came with a few suitcases, no furniture, none of the wedding gifts that I got that I thought were none of it. And it was so liberating to feel this lightness of, oh my gosh, I don't need all that stuff. It doesn't define me. It isn't who I am. And I'm so much more mobile now. I'm so much more flexible now. I'm so much less burdened by all this stuff.
Yes. And therefore opened for new pathways to come into your system and into your consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah. Unblocking, cleaning the closet, clearing the house, getting rid of, it's unblocking the energy. Because Taurus is also a very creative energy. It is resourceful in that way. It can find new ways when it's given the chance. It's very good at that. So when we have Uranus in Taurus, we are invited to find new ways of creating sustainability, new solutions. There are, for instance, some places in, I think, Denmark, they started a year ago or a couple of years ago, a whole new system of urban living where the garden is in each and every building, There are community garden everywhere, and the whole community is built and developed around common shared garden. The vertical gardens, all kinds of new stuff, which don't require so much energy. This kind of bright solutions. And another thing here, of course, is, again, community. We're talking about Uranian energy, doing it together. Joining the forces. It doesn't need to be like a whole society. It's doing it with like-minded people. Uranus like-mindedness, right? So joining those ideas and actually going and manifesting something. And I'm sure that already as we speak now, today, there is a bunch of young people implementing what we're saying and building those new communities and brainstorming and getting together. It's almost like another trigger to in the self-sufficiency, in the independence movement.
Absolutely. All these places where we've put, and I think I mentioned this last time, but I felt myself getting angry a week or two ago as all this was happening, angry at myself for allowing myself to be dependent on systems and structures that don't actually care about me and my children. They don't care. I'm a number. I'm a faceless, nameless. How could they? They have their own survival as a corporation, as a entity. Mm-hmm. And it's not about what's best for me and my children. I am the only one that would be able to do the things that I need to do for my children. So I got this anger in me of like, why have I allowed the most essential life things like food to be dependent on a place like Costco? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just this, whoa, that is not smart. That is not, but see that anger, I channeled it into like, okay, I'm finally going to plant a garden. And yes, my little garden in pots is not going to feed my children. Like, it's not enough, but it was the action of just doing something that's a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And you're right about not only young people, there's people that have dedicated their entire lives to creating sustainable systems. I mean, Eddie here on Maui, which I am going to bring him on, you guys. He is so amazing. He spent his entire life here in these islands creating sustainable systems. And they've even found a way to solve the styrofoam issue. So these are innovative solutions to things that we collectively feel like there's no hope around. So something like styrofoam, and the fact that it isn't recyclable, and it's just filling up landfills with stuff that won't really regenerate itself and go back into the earth. Well, there are these worms that eat the styrofoam and poop fertilizer.
Wow.
This exists. This is not a pipe dream. This exists. And so there are solutions. And this whole idea of everything that we need is here on the earth. It's having such a different context for me. For a long time, it felt like a pretty flowery, poetic thing, yes, oh, that's so lovely. And yet I still need to go make a living, and I still need to go and, all these things. But what solutions like that are showing is that there is innovation, there is creativity, there are solutions, there are answers. And once we can shift out of this, oh no, it's going to change, to, okay, it's going to change. And how can we change it for the better? Then these ideas can come forward, and these voices and these solutions and these people who have been doing this work for their entire, because they knew, Eddie was born knowing that this is the truth, that there's a way to do it that's way better. Madeline, you as a child, many of our listeners probably as a child, that knew like there's a better way. And when we each tap into the design of our blueprint, as so beautifully made possible by astrology, we can see that there are keys within each of us that when we work together to empower those keys and give voice to those keys and trust our intuition and our vision, I believe it will work. That there's a symphony on this planet that can happen when we each tap into that blueprint that is unique to us. Because you out there have answers that I don't have. I see things different than you. And when we all share and we come together in that spirit of cooperation and potential and possibilities, that's when these things come forth. So
you're speaking as a true Aquarian rising.
But it's so clear to me. It's like, you guys, we can do this. We can do this. And it is by coming and sharing and tapping into that blueprint that is you, and no longer shushing it, no longer shoulding it, no longer shaming it, letting it come forth and letting it shine, because you have something that you're going to contribute to this symphony. And I can hear the symphony. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it works. So I think this Uranus and Taurus thing is amazing, and it opens up a whole new arena. It opens up a whole new arena for all of us. And when we can be in that space of pure potential, and I just encourage each of you to tune into that place within you that is still, that is quiet, that is knowing, that is love. Then when we're there, we know that this universe is loving. Whenever we come to that place of truth and stillness within us, it's not cacophonous, it's not frenetic, it's peaceful, it's still, it's joyful. That's the truth. That's where we source our strength. That's where we source our value. That's where we source what is real. And so
allowing that, sorry.
Go.
Go. And adding to that inner peace and all the bottomless values that we can derive from within, adding to that the Uranian element of connections and friendships and love between humans and support, especially now, and especially in crisis situations like that, where we discover that our biggest value are our friends, are our beloveds, are other human beings who come and share with us and support us, and we're doing it all together. So, love as a new currency. It can be a beautiful Uranus and Taurus expression. Togetherness, connectedness as a new currency. As the only way to survive, in fact.
Natasha, one of the key themes that came out of the 2020 Global Forecast Marathon that we did in January, right before the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, one of the biggest quotes that came out of it was, "Stay human." And I remember as that theme was being discussed, everybody, most people were having chills and having it hit on such a profound level. And so as we've been going through this, I've been asking that question, what is human? What is it that makes being human? And what is it that makes our value of being human worthwhile? What is it about being human? What are the most beautiful aspects of being human? And what does that look like? And tapping into those stories, the beautiful human stories that are happening right now, us, all of you together right now, this is a beautiful human expression. And they're happening all around us. Whether or not the news wants us to hear about it, it's happening. And so that's the frequency of humanness that is something worth celebrating. It's something worth preserving. And it doesn't mean the other expressions of being human aren't valid. And I'm talking about the part of being human where people are in survival mode and it's a separating energy and it's, I got to get mine, and just, that part, can we start to move out of that as the default, and maybe not, but maybe it's always a victory of human spirit to choose the other, even if it's in our instinct or in our knee jerk to go to that place. We always have the choice to choose what human spirit would look like in any given circumstance. What human spirit, what is worth celebrating about being human? And I think each one of us has our answers to that. It's the beauty in that child's question. Why do we even need this? Why? This isn't necessary. It's the beauty and the smile that is bringing you joy right now in the people that are around you. There's so much to celebrate, really, about being human.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully put, beautifully spoken, with so much soul and with so much sincerity. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Natasha, for your continuing availability to have these discussions and to be willing to go to the place that is uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially as a Taurus. That there's a discomfort in some of these conversations. But by having them, you guys, by going there, we're able to, again, just bring that awareness, bring in the invitation of these transits, the invitation of the planets, the invitation for all of us to rise to the higher octave of what's possible here. And it's a choice, day in, day out, every moment. It's a choice. So continue to do those things that tap you into what's real, that help you find your source of strength from within yourself. For me right now, there's certain books, these flowers, there's certain practices that are just bring me back to what's real, bring me back to what's true, bring me back to what is empowered and in that space of potential. There is no script. There is no end story that's already written to any of this. We're writing it. What do we want to write?
Oh.
Please continue to chat in. We love to connect with you. I've been seeing some amazing ideas and people that have been holding visions, people that have been experimenting with things, different solutions, different innovations. Continue to write those in, because you never know what your idea will spark in someone else. And you never know when your confidence in something you've seen gives someone else confidence in what they're seeing. So just continue sharing, continue coming together. We, again, as Astrology Hub, which I love how Anne Ortley has renamed us, Astrology Hug, we will continue. I love it, because Astrology Hug, for me, astrology, that's what it does. It hugs us all in this, like, it's okay, we got this. So we'll continue to bring more content to you that is here to uplift, inspire, ground you in what's real, ground you in the possibilities. And just thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for making astrology a part of your life. Thank you for being part of the collective consciousness that is attuned to the light of the universe, the light in your heart, and the light that is your soul. Thank you. And Natasha, thank you.